All right, what's up, guys? So today we're gonna be reacting to uh, two U.S. Army soldiers being killed, and I guess a civilian interpreter being killed in Syria. So let's watch it.
Official national news agency. This attack took place as U.S. soldiers were on a joint patrol with Syrian forces, and that U.S. helicopters intervened to help evacuate the wounded. I also want to pull up a post from Sean Purnell. He is the chief spokesman at the Pentagon. He offered some more details. He said this, quote, "The attack occurred as the soldiers were conducting a key leader engagement. Their mission was in support of ongoing counter-ISIS, counter-terrorism operations in the region. The soldiers' names, as well as identifying information about their units, are being withheld until 24 hours after the next of kin notification. This attack is currently under active investigation." Now, in another post, the Secretary of Defense said that the attacker was killed by partner forces, and he went on to say this, quote, "Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you." Trump, as I mentioned, is now in Baltimore. That's for the Army-Navy game. Hegseth is also expected to be in attendance. And then, of course, top military brass will be there as well. Fred.
All right. Julia Benbrook at the White House, thank you so much for that. Let's continue this.
What do you guys think? That's pretty interesting that happened. Do you guys think the Syrian president was involved at all? I mean, we all know he used to be a former member of Al Qaeda. I think he was also like one of the founding members or one of the first people to be part of Al Qaeda. So it's kind of interesting. Personally, I don't think he was involved because honestly, it doesn't make sense when like the United States is supporting you. So I don't think he would do anything that stupid because like it doesn't really make any sense. Like they just lifted all the sanctions off your country. United States help get out Bashar al-Assad using you as basically a proxy to help get out somebody that didn't like, so you could become the new leader of the country. But yeah, I was curious if you guys think he was involved or not, had any influence of this happening. So I guess we'll find out.
Now with CNN military analyst Major General Spider Marks. So in your view, what do you think the president and the defense secretary mean when they say there will be a retaliation?
Well,
they're gonna fuck them up, send in a bunch of fucking cruise missiles and blow them dudes up, bro. That's basically what it means.
leader of a nation makes a declaratory statement like that, you better believe him. But retaliation, in my mind, is not necessarily what they're going to do. What the United States is doing with several Syrian forces in country is they are conducting very aggressive counter-terrorism operations, counter-ISIS operations. So I think the interpretation of what the president said, which frankly is pretty blunt, doesn't need much interpretation, is there will be ongoing operations against ISIS. When you look at the details of this particular engagement, a single ISIS fighter ambushed this group very tragically for the group. But the point is that ISIS fighter had direction, was part of a larger organization. That's what the U.S. is there to do, which is to rip that organization apart and render it useless.
Right.
So I think it's going to be more of the same. More operations will continue.
Right. So underscore the risks that come with counterterrorism activity like this in a joint operation. That's all we really know about what this is, a joint operation. Maybe you have more details on exactly what it entails?
Yeah, to be precise, it's a coalition operation, which means another nation, portions of the Syrian defensive forces that the United States have been working with for a while, predating the fall of Syria. So this has been an ongoing operation. So there's trust, there's engagement, there's familiarity among the partner forces in this regard. But going after ISIS is always going to be a very difficult task. And we've seen the downside, the very tragic downside of this. And a key leader engagement, as it's been described, these are routine engagements where partner forces will engage with some other partner force, trying to figure out what the next steps might look like. And every time you do that, security is very broad. There's what we call an outer ring and an inner ring of security. But can a single fighter get in? Can somebody ambush that? Very tragically, we've seen that this certainly can happen. But security remains objective number one. These forces will not, the U.S. and the Syrian forces that they're working with, will not stop doing what they're doing.
Israel has also been targeting ISIS and other terror groups in Syria recently. How much of a threat overall is ISIS right now?
Well, ISIS...
not really that big of a threat, honestly. I mean, they're a threat only to our forces that are really stationed in the Middle East. So yeah, really, that's really the only threat that we face from them. I mean, if we left the Middle East, there would be no more threat from ISIS. I mean, every now and again, there might be like I guess the word's not threat, maybe soldiers being killed if we left the Middle East, and that would obviously go away once we left. But threats, I think there will always be threats just because of the last, 40 years that we've been there and like destroyed a bunch of countries. Iraq, Syria, Jordan. What else? Bombed Iran, Afghanistan. I can't remember who all we attacked there. But yeah, like, there's always probably going to always be a threat from ISIS, no matter what.
Been attrited considerably, but they're an ideology. They continue to provide challenges. And the bigger picture now, Fred, is that Syria, with a new government in place, a new leader in place who used to be a member of ISIS, saddling up next to the United States, primarily for partnership, and that partnership means a ton of money, he's hoping. But Syria remains ungoverned space, which is analogous to what we saw in Afghanistan pre 9/11. And bad things happen when it's ungoverned. So you can have, if ISIS was allowed to do what it's doing without the constant pressure from the United States and the partnering Syrian forces, we could see things that are much worse than what we're seeing right now. So you maintain the pressure on ISIS. You try to control what you control. You draw lines between what Israel's doing in Syria, what we're doing in Syria. Clearly, the Turks are doing things in Syria. So you don't want to have fratricide, but you want to apply pressure to try to achieve some level of stability.
The President of the United States had the Syrian president at the White House recently. What will this situation and this joint operation do to that relationship that is still kind of in its infancy?
If he's not involved, it does nothing. He's going to provide if he's not involved, it's going to do nothing, and the Syrian president is going to allow the U.S. to do whatever they need to do to destroy ISIS again. If he is involved, they're probably going to drop a cruise missile on the presidential palace in Syria. It's basically that simple.
Yeah, great question. Generally, it's one of two things. It either frays the relationship, right? Or what happens is it brings it closer together. And in the case of al-Shara, the new leader in Syria, previously an ISIS fighter, he and Trump, I think, have...
Oh, ISIS fighter. I thought he was Al-Qaeda. Well, he probably is Al-Qaeda. But, see? I don't know. That's kind of suspicious. A former ISIS fighter?
Off in the right direction. They have a similar azimuth. So I think there will be tightening of this relationship, more resources against trying to eliminate those challenges to the stability that he has to establish in Syria. If anybody's going to take him seriously, he needs to be able to acknowledge, look, I'm in charge. I've got this. I'm making progress. Security needs to be job number one. Otherwise, nobody's going to join Syria. Dollars will not flow into Syria. Look, you've got to plant a flag of security, and if you do that, dollars will flow in, and you can start achieving some degree of normalcy.
All right, Major General James Spidermarks, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thank you, Fred.
So we mourn the loss of three great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. There was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
And should U.S. forces attack again?
We're going to be seeing.
And should the U.S. still be in?
We will retaliate. Thank you very much.
That is President Trump on the South Lawn just moments ago as he was about to board Marine One for the short trip up to Baltimore for the Army-Navy football game. On some aspects of that, very direct and very blunt in his reaction in terms of retaliation. Michael, your thoughts about what we just heard?
Well, first, I thought it was, of course, appropriate, and that's what the nation wants to hear. They want to hear sorrow, but they want to hear that we're going to go after our adversaries, and you got that out of the president. What was also interesting to me, though, was the president's knowledge of what's going on in Syria generally. Remember, there's a new leader there, and we actually had him over here to the United States, and we've been experimenting with loosening some of the sanctions so that they might be able to grow economically. He's not already talked with this new president of Syria. He's expressing solidarity with him. He's saying they were attacked also in addition to us. So he's sort of growing the conflict outward and saying, you all need to help us. This is against the both of us, and we need to band together and align to make sure that we can kill off ISIS in your territory.
Rebecca, your thoughts on the tone from the commander-in-chief there?
No, I mean, it's pitch perfect. Wishing well for the families who are obviously just grieving and finding out all about this today. But then also, yes, of course, we are going to retaliate. And also interesting, I was looking to see what he would say about Ahmed al-Shara, the new president of Syria too. He quickly made the point that he has spoken with him. So look, I mean, it's a risky decision what we're doing here, but we're trying, we the United States are trying to have a country in the region that is, we understand it's not a liberal Jeffersonian democracy. It's still a difficult place, but
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the United States always trying to police the world and solve the world's problems, and because, like, all right, we already know that there was no reason to invade Iraq, all right, because Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, so destroy the country, cool, all right, destroyed that country. Then what do we do after that? I'm not sure the order of this, but Afghanistan, we went there because it actually turns out it was actually Al-Qaeda. Those people in Al-Qaeda actually blew up the Twin Towers, or flew the airplanes into the Twin Towers. So we invaded their country, stayed there for about, over 20 years, occupied the country. Then we left, 4 years ago. The Taliban took back over. So basically you wasted trillions of dollars, soldiers' deaths for nothing, because the people that we went there to fight are still there in charge. Wow, look at that. Or it actually turns out it was actually the Saudis that actually were the people that flew the airplanes into the towers. But then we did nothing, even though I'm pretty sure the government already knew that it was most likely the Saudis that did it. Bro, see, I just don't agree with, what we do. Just let the country be. The only reason why countries are unstable and they have a bunch of, terrorism going on, or why we feel the need to invade or attack other people's countries, is because of what we've done to them in the past. So, there's a cause and effect. They're not just doing it just cause. Islam has been around for over 1,000 years. I think 1,500 years. When has there ever been some type of, I guess you could say, terrorist attack from a Muslim nation on a Western country, like in Europe or in the United States? Not really ever until the United States and other Western countries really started to occupy certain areas of the Middle East, and that's when we started seeing like a rampant rise of terrorism from extremists in the region. So honestly, I think we just like stay away from that stuff, focus on our country or focus on our hemisphere, just focus on North America and South America and just leave Asia, the Middle East alone. Just like let them do what they do. Like we're not going to change anything. The only way we can change something is basically just by taking over all the whole Middle East and then just occupying it until they change, and then we make each country a democracy, and then we leave. We'll probably also have to change our religion because, I mean, if you want a democracy, that means you'll need to give men and women freedom and rights to vote, to work, to do as they please. But we know they don't agree with that. So you basically need to change a whole region's identity of about what 1.5 billion people that live there in that region. Like it's literally impossible. So like there's no reason why we should be over there. That's my opinion.
Pro-America at this point. It's a huge improvement over Bashar al-Assad, who is now hiding out in Russia, by the way, because he was a puppet of the Iran regime. And so you do want to have but that also puts a lot of pressure and onus on this new regime to make sure that their area is secure for U.S. forces who are going to be.
I want to say he was a puppet. I would just say he's an ally, and allies support other allies. That's what I would say.
Operating there. So I think there's still going to be more to come to hear the consequences and hear what else is going to happen with our relationship with that new regime as well.
Michael, what are your takeaways at this hour as we've heard from the president and we await action in the region?
I think presidents in these types of scenarios want from their national security teams options. Of course, we can retaliate against Syria, but he doesn't want it to be just something that passes with a bomb or two. Sometimes in counterterrorism, we hear this term, mowing the grass, like let's go hit these terrorists, then we'll have to do it again sometime down the road. And
I've only heard that term when it came from the Gaza situation. That's the only time I ever heard mowing the grass.
It's temporary. What he probably wants to do and what he should do in the coming days is say, I want to be able to uproot ISIS, root and branch across Syria. And where else do I need to go? What other gathering threats are there around the world? So I think he wants to do this not just as a temporary symbolic strike against our enemies, but what more can I do? So I think he puts on the gas here in the short term, and then he presses his team for what intelligence do you need? What military assets do you need? And what authority do you need from me to go after these Islamic extremists?
Rebecca, we know the Pentagon has plans for all kinds of scenarios all over the world. Presumably, if he says, I want ISIS targets all throughout Syria, they've probably got a wish list at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a wish list, and post-Assad, there may be some targets that we have known have existed, but we have kind of held back as we have tried to maneuver with this new government. And now we'd say, like, look, we know exactly what we want to hit. Maybe some new military infrastructure, some tunnels, some munitions facilities. So there's probably good targets. I know there'll be targets that we already have in mind. And then we're also, I would assume that they're looking to see what other intelligence do we have from our allies and partners. This is a time where the Israelis might have some information they might want to provide us as well. And so it's a good opportunity in light of this to make sure that we are covering down on increasing the security in the region, because we still, again, we are trying to move forward with this new Middle East. Israel is much stronger, in Iran that's much weaker, a new government in Syria, trying to create a more stable environment with the options that we have.
This is the annual Army-Navy football game up in Baltimore. That's where President Trump is heading right now. Michael, as a former White House insider, would you expect a moment of silence at the football game, considering all those young men playing the game will end up in the active duty military?
I definitely think so, and it would be, of course, really appropriate for that to occur. I think the American people want to acknowledge our military, even if this had not happened today. It's one of the great traditions in our democracy to be able to celebrate these two storied teams and the best among us out there playing football. But I think for sure this needs to be acknowledged for everyone who's died in arms and perished on behalf of the United States, to get a shout out here. And I think that's doubly the case on this great occasion.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee.
Hi everyone, I'm Casey Hunt. Welcome to the...
All right, we'll end it there, guys. So thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Honestly, do you think the president was actually involved? You know, that's honestly what I'm curious about, what you guys have to say. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you later.